Sign it, Mia. Your charity tour ends tonight. Ryan Caldwell shoved the envelope at me like it was a dirty napkin, right there between the honey-glazed ham and the champagne. His mom, Diane, laughed. Too loud, too proud, like humiliating me was their Christmas tradition. My throat tightened, but I forced a smile because crying in front of people like that feels like giving them a trophy. 3 years of being called the diner girl. 3 years of Ryan acting like he rescued me. And now, divorce papers and a five-figure dinner bill they plan to ditch on me. If you were in my seat, what would you do? Be honest. Am I in the wrong? Comment your verdict and subscribe. Because what happened next shocked everyone. I didn't realize a marriage could end without a scream. No plates thrown, no mascara running, just the dry shh of paper sliding across linen. Ryan Caldwell leaned back in his chair like he'd just finished closing a deal. Go ahead, Mia, he said, loud enough for the table to hear. Sign it. Let's not drag this out. His mother, Diane, had that polished socialite smile, the kind that never reaches the eyes. Brooke, his sister, tapped her nails against her wine glass like she was counting down to a fireworks show. I swear they were excited, like my divorce was their holiday entertainment. The restaurant, the Lark, was the kind of place where the chairs feel softer than your childhood memories. Crystal everywhere, candles, carols playing quietly, like the universe was trying to soften the blow. But Diane cut through it with one sentence that made my stomach drop. Well, sweetheart, she said, waving her fork like a judge's gavel, this is the part where you go back to your people. Maybe they'll let you take leftovers. I felt heat rise up my neck, but I kept my face calm. Because for 3 years, that's what I'd trained myself to do. Smile, swallow, survive. I'd listened to Diane joke about my clothes being cheap, my background being mysterious, my worth being questionable. And Ryan? He used to defend me. Then he started laughing along. Then he started looking at me like I was a project he regretted starting. I glanced down at the papers. No settlement, no alimony. Just a demand that I leave our apartment by midnight. On Christmas? I asked quietly. Ryan checked his watch. Gold, obnoxious, shiny. Clean start. New year, new me. He grinned. And by the way, you're paying for dinner. Consider it your final contribution. That's when I understood the plan. They weren't just divorcing me. They were setting a trap. The Lark wasn't cheap. This wasn't a casual dinner bill. This was a ruin her bill. They wanted to watch me panic. They wanted to watch me beg the waiter for mercy. They wanted me humiliated. Maybe even escorted out. Diane stood, slipping into her fur coat like a queen leaving a peasant's funeral. Don't worry, she purred. If you can't pay, maybe they'll let you wash dishes. That would be on brand. Brooke laughed. Make sure you keep the apron. It suits you. Ryan pushed his chair back. Sign it, he repeated, colder now. Or we can make this uglier. And here's the thing, I could have screamed. I could have thrown the champagne in his face. But something inside me went still. Not numb, not broken. Just clear. I picked up the pen, signed the papers, and slid them back to him. Ryan's smile widened. Good girl. That phrase, good girl, hit like a slap. Brooke actually clapped once like I'd performed. Then the head waiter approached. Older man, professional, calm. His name tag read Henry. He carried the leather folder like it weighed 100 pounds. Ryan didn't even look at it, he just nodded toward me. She's got it. Henry's eyes flicked to my coat, the worn one I'd worn on purpose for years. Then back to my face. I saw it in him. Pity. The kind of pity rich people hand out like spare change. I reached into my purse. Not my usual card. Not the little debit card they'd watched me swipe like proof of my place. I pulled out a matte black card, heavy in my fingers, with a small embossed raven. Henry froze. His entire posture changed, like his body recognized danger before his brain did. The folder tilted. His voice dropped to a whisper. Ms. Vaughn? He said, like he was afraid saying it louder might crack the walls. Ryan turned around. What did you just call her? I stood, straight, shoulders back. The way I used to stand before I decided to hide from a world that only loved my last name. Add a 50% tip, I told Henry, loud enough for nearby tables to hear, for the inconvenience of dealing with trash. Diane blinked like her brain short circuited. Vaughn? That's impossible. Brooke's smile fell off her face like a mask sliding into the dirt. Ryan took one step closer. Mia, what is this? I looked him dead in the eyes. You wanted a clean start, I said softly. So did I. And if you're listening right now, I need you to tell me what would you have done in that moment? Because the next part is where they finally learned who they'd been tormenting. This is already making you mad, hit like, because it gets worse. I didn't go home that night. Because home was an apartment Ryan called ours, while reminding me it was really his. Outside the Lark, snow was falling like the world was trying to look innocent. Henry held the door open for me like I was royalty. Not for Ryan, not for Diane, not for Brooke. They stood behind me, silent, watching the air shift around them as if money itself had walked into the room and decided they were no longer visible. A black sedan rolled up to the curb. It had been trailing us all evening, my security detail, waiting for my permission. For 3 years, I'd refused it. I wanted to be normal. I wanted a life where nobody bowed, nobody flinched, nobody tried to attach themselves to my last name like a parasite. But when Ryan shoved those papers at me on Christmas and tried to leave me with a bill big enough to break a regular person's life, that was the moment I realized I wasn't protecting my peace. I was donating it. I got into the car, and the door shut with a soft, final click, like a vault closing. My head of security, Paul, sat in the front passenger seat. He didn't ask questions. He didn't lecture. He just said, "Are we cleared to move?" I exhaled once. Yes. And what happened next wasn't a messy revenge montage with screaming and vandalism. It was worse than that. It was quiet. It was the kind of revenge that doesn't leave bruises. It leaves bankruptcies. At 7 a.m. the next morning, I was in my office. Vaughn Tower, glass and steel cutting into the skyline. I didn't feel giddy. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt focused, like a surgeon. First call, Caldwell Realty's line of credit. They lived on it. They breathed through it. They'd been struggling, which is why Ryan insisted on that expensive Christmas dinner in the first place, one last night pretending they weren't sinking. By 9 a.m., a Vaughn subsidiary purchased a chunk of that debt. By 9:12 a.m., my attorney confirmed the paperwork. By 9:15 a.m., I made one phone call. "Good morning," I said, calm as iced water. "This is Mia Vaughn. I'm calling the loan." There was a pause on the other end. Shock, then sudden politeness. "Ms. Vaughn, yes, understood. We'll notify the borrowers of immediate terms." Immediate, meaning now. Ryan's father called the bank like a man whose house is on fire and he's arguing about the water bill. He screamed. He threatened. He pulled out names, favors, old connections. And the bank told him the truth. The new owner requires liquidation. That's the part people don't understand about power. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's paperwork that turns into gravity. Then came Diane's favorite world, society. Diane didn't just want money, she wanted to be seen. Botanical charity galas, opera boards, those little programs printed on thick paper where her name sat like a crown. That's what she fed on. So I made 3 donations, each one bigger than what Caldwell Realty had ever made in a good year. But I attached conditions. 1, remove the Caldwell name from all programs, past and present, where possible. 2, bar Diane Caldwell from future events for conduct unbecoming of the organization. 3, public acknowledgement of a values realignment. And let me tell you, the people who run those circles don't care about family legacy. They care about checks clearing. By lunchtime, Diane was getting calls that started polite and ended brutal. "We appreciate your service, Diane, but it's not personal. It's board decision. Please don't make this difficult." The same way she'd smiled at me while saying, "Eat up, sweetheart. I'm sure this beats canned soup." Funny how those lines sting when you're the one being escorted out. Next, their house. They called it an estate. It was a monument to their ego. I bought the mortgage. On New Year's Eve, while they were still scrambling to stop the financial bleeding, the eviction notice was served. Not a threat, not a warning, a date and a signature. And here's where I want you to pause and really sit in the ugliness of what they did first. They wanted to leave me cold and hungry on Christmas as entertainment. They wanted me scared. They wanted me powerless. So I made sure they felt that same cliff under their feet. If you're watching this and your blood is boiling, I get it. Tell me in the comments. Was this justice or was it too far? Because the next part is when Ryan showed up in my tower and the mask finally cracked. If you're still here, hit share. Someone out there needs this warning. 2 weeks after Christmas, Ryan Caldwell walked into Vaughn Tower like a man walking into court. He used to glide into rooms, used to carry himself like the world owed him applause. That day, he looked smaller. His suit was wrinkled. His jaw had that hollow tension of someone who hasn't slept. And the Rolex? Gone. He had to pass 4 layers of security just to reach my assistant's desk. 4 separate times he had to say his name out loud and watch people not care. When my assistant told me he was here, I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt something colder, closure lining up like dominoes. I told her, send him in. Ryan stepped into my office and stopped dead. Floor-to-ceiling windows. City spread out beneath us. My name on a discreet plaque. Quiet power everywhere. No flashy gold. No cheap bragging. He swallowed. Mia? I didn't look up right away. I kept scrolling on my tablet like his desperation was an email I'd answer later. He took 1 step forward. Please, we didn't know. That made me laugh. Not a happy laugh. A dry little exhale. You didn't know what? That I'm worth something? That I'm human? His eyes got wet fast, like he'd practiced this in the mirror. My mom, she pushed it. She said you were using us. She said, stop, I said, finally looking up. Don't you dare drag her in front of me like a shield. Your mother didn't sign those divorce papers, Ryan. You did. He flinched like I'd hit him. He tried again, voice cracking. If you had just told us who you were, that's the point, I cut in. If I told you, you would have loved the money. You never loved me. Silence filled the room, thick and ugly. Ryan's hands balled into fists at his sides. I did love you. I leaned back in my chair. Then why was it fun? He blinked. What? Why was it fun? I repeated, slow, deliberate. To hand me divorce papers on Christmas and laugh about me being cold and hungry. Why did your sister call me a charity tour? Why did your mother talk about me washing dishes to pay the bill? That wasn't anger, Ryan. That was joy. Cruel people don't just hurt you, they enjoy it. His mouth opened, closed. No defense fit. He whispered, I was stressed. The business. So you sold me, I said flatly. Like I was furniture. That's when he broke. He dropped to his knees. Actually dropped. Like a movie. Like a man performing grief because he thinks it might buy mercy. Mia, please, he sobbed. My dad is losing everything. My mom is in a motel. Brooke's car got repossessed. I'll do anything. Anything. Just stop. And I watched him the way you watch someone you used to know. Like the memory of him was a photograph left in the sun too long. Ryan, I said softly, do you remember the first time your mom told me I was lucky to eat at her table? He looked up, confused through tears. She said, eat up, sweetheart. This must be better than what you're used to. And you laughed. You didn't stop her. You laughed. He shook his head. I didn't mean. I know, I said. That's what makes it worse. You didn't mean anything at all. You were empty enough to let cruelty become your personality. He stared at me like he wanted to hate me but couldn't afford it. I stood up, walked around the desk, not to comfort him, never that, but to make sure he heard the next words clearly. You wanted me to start from zero, I said, so you could feel big. His breathing hitched. I nodded once. Congratulations. Now you get to experience zero for real. I pressed the button for security. Ryan's head snapped toward the door. No, Mia, don't do this. 2 guards entered, calm, efficient. As they lifted him, he started yelling. Not words, noise, pleading, blaming, bargaining, and I felt nothing. Because the version of me who begged for love at that table, she was gone. At the door, Ryan twisted back, voice raw. You're heartless. I looked at him, steady. No, Ryan, I'm healed. The door shut. Quiet returned. And I want to ask you because this is where people split. If someone humiliates you for years, then tries to destroy you for fun, do they deserve forgiveness when they finally feel consequences? Tell me in the comments, like if you think dignity matters more than bloodlines. Share if you've ever been underestimated. Because the ending? It's the part I replay when I need to remember who I am. I used to think love meant enduring, staying quiet, being easy to live with. I thought if I kept my head down long enough, people would eventually see my heart and choose it. But here's what I learned the hard way. Some people don't value kindness, they weaponize it. They don't see patience as strength, they see it as permission. When Ryan and his family tried to leave me with that bill, it wasn't just money. It was a message. You're disposable. And the truth is, I didn't destroy them with rage. I destroyed the illusion that they were untouchable. Paperwork, contracts, consequences, the same cold cruelty they served me, returned in a language they finally understood. So now I'm asking you straight up, am I in the wrong? Was it justice? Or was it too far? If you've ever been belittled, used, or tested by someone who claimed to love you, drop your story in the comments. I read them. And if you want more real life, voiceover ready stories like this, hit like, subscribe, and share. Because nobody should confuse your silence with weakness.